Welcome to Let's Learn Jurassic World Evolution.
This is Isla Sorna. You've got a larger landmass to deal with on this island. More opportunities for success, and of course for the unexpected, which shouldn't be unexpected, but you know, it just always is.
An island Dr. Malcolm's all too familiar with. Site B. Long since reclaimed by nature, mostly. Taming this place will likely be your toughest challenge yet. And speaking of taming, a number of wild attractions make up the local population. Full disclosure, some of them have very long and very sharp teeth.
Do not let this place fool you. Like Central Park in New York City, what appears to be nature is actually an elaborate illusion. On this island, the dinosaurs are running wild. But that can't be true because they're contained, aren't they? Their situation and their existence is both artificial and real. A recursive nightmare, like the Dragon Curve, a potentially dangerous Mandelbrot set. Fractal, fraction, fractured. All from the same root word. Frangir, Latin for to break. So you see, creation and destruction are really one and the same.
All right, hi, this is Attican, and welcome to another Jurassic World Evolution video. In this one, I'm going to show you how to get started on Isla Sorna, and more specifically, how to take a modular approach to building to build one confined, well-organized set of paddocks that will allow us to go all the way to level 5 dinosaur and level 5 facility rating in a very small amount of space and very quickly. And then from there you can take the game anywhere you want to go, but I feel like once a person gets command of how to set this up so that you can easily build your island to 5 stars, then the rest of the game is just, you know, reacting to the missions and playing the game however you want to, letting dinosaurs run wild or keeping them controlled or trying to put all the dinosaurs on the island, whatever you want to do. But to me, the first step is to be able to control what you have and to be able to build effectively. So the first thing I did to start Sorna was actually ramp up my ACU by giving it 3 scheduling updates, accuracy, and a reload update. And then I went out and tranquilized all the dinosaurs that are running loose out here. So all the stegosaurs and the spinosaur that are out there loose, starting with the spinosaur, and basically sold them all off. And you can see we've got over $9 million here. We started with 6, so we got about $3.5 million for selling off those dinosaurs. If you do it quickly, you can make really good money. But the reason I sold them off is not because you couldn't start Sorna with those. Of course you could, and there they are. They're an asset. It seems almost wasteful to sell them, but good money. And I wanted to show you a generic approach that would work on all of the islands. It'll definitely work on all of them with a caveat that on Peña, because it's so small, you would have to piecemeal the approach I'm about to show you. But what I'm going to show you is a way to build out a 5-star dinosaur rating, 5-star island in a very controlled, small piece of land here. So we are going to build exactly a 4x4 containment area, paddock. And what I mean by 4x4 is you stretch out the fence as far as it'll go and let it go for 1 build, then 2, and then stretch it again, there's 3, stretch it again, there's 4. Then you turn it a right corner and you stretch it out and build 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we head back up toward the top of the screen and build 1, 2, 3, 4. Missed the 4th one, there we go. And there we go, we get a nice square box, so to speak. And that is all the space we're going to need for dinosaurs to be a 5-star facility. So we're going to put our lab up here in the top. Also, this is also the idea. This is to have a build. I do a lot of playing where I actually tranquilize the dinosaurs and carry them off to wherever I need them on the island. That's a ton of work. I wanted to give you a way to play that's a lot less work, where this one lab can incubate all of our dinosaurs, and we can load them up easily to where we need them.
That means we need more samples. This expedition can help.
Now, of course, while we're playing, we'll keep playing the game, so to speak. We'll keep getting contracts and trying to fulfill them. We'll try to keep our 3 divisions happy so we don't get any sabotage. And the biggest thing with that, I'm going to take an approach where try to just kind of keep them even. So whoever is we're in the least favor with, that's who we'll do our next contract with, just to avoid sabotage for now. If we were more focused on getting the missions, we would probably say, okay, let's take science and just do everything for science until we got the science mission, and then turn around and take either security or entertainment and concentrate on them and build our reputation with them. But in this approach, because I'm just trying to do this generic build and I'm not worried about the missions, so to speak, I am just going to try to keep them on an even keel. And here I'm trying to set up an area where basically we're going to have only going to have 2 areas in this whole playthrough to get us to 5 stars. One is going to be here, where we're going to have our research and our fossil centers and our expedition centers, and that one little medium power station there with some upgrades will take care of all the power needs for that whole area, and in fact overkill actually. So it'll be that and the start of our transportation. And then this area down here is where we'll do the bulk of our, well, we'll do almost all of our building, and certainly all of our building as far as dinosaurs are concerned. So what we're going to do is set it up so that we have a ranger station and an ACU right nearby, so we can handle emergencies, we can respond to illnesses, we can do whatever. So we'll have our infrastructure up here, kind of, let's call that the north, up to the top of the screen as we're looking at it. And I tend to always look at, I'll twist around a little sometimes, but I tend to always look at it the same way. So that'll be consistently at the top of our screen up there where the Hammond Incubation Center is. So we're setting up the road network, and we're actually just going to set up everything. We'd probably piecemeal this a little bit more if I wasn't trying to show you the whole thing. But basically, I'm going to set up the whole build here. We've got $9.5 million to get going with. So we're going to put a large power station up here. And one thing I would recommend is have a power station very, very close to your ranger station. Ideally to your ranger station and your ACU, but especially the ranger station, particularly on the islands where the weather is bad, so that you can get power back to that ranger station as quickly as you can, so that you can use your rangers to clean up, to fix fences, to clean up the messes. And even if you're a person who likes to drive the vehicles, you can only drive one of them, and you could have 2 or 3 cleaning up if you've got power. So if you have your ranger station near that power, you can fix whatever's wrong right there and get power back to your ranger station quickly. That's to me a great idea to have a power station right next to your rangers. Now we're going to start setting up the way we want our paddock to work. The first thing we want is we want to be able to incubate from that single center and easily move them into 4 different paddocks that we're going to set up here. So we're basically going to just set up a little area like that, and then a little pathway, if you will, so that we can go down here and set up 4 gates to run off to our 4 different paddocks. And that way we won't have to use the incubation. Well, we might use it once or twice if we get strays wandering off up in there where they don't belong. But basically, we're going to set up that, set up the way it is. And then the other thing we're going to do, we want 2 of our paddocks to be fairly larger, quite a bit larger than the others. So we're going to go to the exact midpoint right there of our fencing, which that's where it's gone out to, and then we're going to go up 3 sections, 3 of the smaller sections from it, right there, 1, 2, 3, and grab that, and then work our way straight across to the other side. And that's going to give us 2 smaller paddocks and 2 larger paddocks. So here we go, stretching it out all the way across. So now we've divided. Now we've got 2 smaller paddocks up there near the center, you can see, and we'll divide that larger space into 2 paddocks. Okay, so here I'm going to extend the fencing out a little ways. You got a little bend here I want to get rid of in there, but we're going to extend the fencing out a little ways so that we can put in 2 gates. We need a total of 4 gates to make this little system work here in the middle, and 1 more gate to allow rangers to get into the area. So there's 1 gate, but for whatever reason, this other side, it didn't like it. It didn't seem to want to put a gate in there. It just said it was obstructive for some reason, so I decided to try to give it a little more space. So I give it a little more fence to work with. And then it worked. There we go. Clean up the fencing we don't need, and we're going to shut off that end because we don't need to be able to go through the end cap there. There we go. Now we'll put 2 more gates up here on those first 2 paddocks that we built. So now we have 4 gates that'll run. Right now you only see 3 paddocks. Eventually there'll be 4 paddocks, and those gates will be able to feed all 4 of those paddocks. Now, one thing I'm really big on is having extremely high visibility. And the way you get that is to find some way to organize the combination of towers and galleries so that you can get that. Now, one of the reasons I use this 4x4 method for the paddock, the overall paddock, the big containment area, is because it matches perfectly with those towers, with the visibility of those towers. You see they can reach all the way out to the far end. So by alternating towers and galleries, the towers kind of long, thin visibility. The galleries are short and wide visibility. But by alternating them, we now have visibility between those 5 viewing stations for 100% of that area. So except for dinosaurs that are hiding in the trees, we will be able to see every dinosaur that's out there at all times, which will pretty much ensure us a very high visibility rate. And then we'll also use the monorail to even strengthen that to make sure. So a key for being able to use all this is indeed the monorail. The monorail acts like a virtual path. So if you connect up 2 monorails in 2 different parts of your park, then as long as they're connected and running, that's like having a path that runs all the way up through this valley to the entry, but we don't have to put any pathing in there, and that helps your transportation because you don't want people walking through there. You want them getting on the monorail and riding to that distant location. Now, it turns out our first bad storm hits us while we're still doing our initial setup, so that's pretty fast, and this is a pretty good storm. But it won't be any big deal for us because we don't have any dinosaurs, so we really don't have a park yet. We're just setting up. We're just getting started. So we're going to run that monorail right through that little valley, and then we're going to run it out so that it goes right over our paddocks, and loop it back around and loop it into that monorail station. Got a little too tight there, so I'm going to have to back it off and come out from that station, make sure we can make that curve and connect those up. So here we see we're still not getting power. Now, why is that? Because we don't have everything connected up. First of all, that section up there to the top of our screen does not have a path connection down to the monorail or to any of the paths coming off the monorail. So there we go. Now we've done that. Now we do have a path to the monorail. But that's still not enough. There's still something missing. We don't have power yet. And what is it? We don't have damage. We're not seeing any damage. Well, there is some damage down there to a viewing tower, but that's not enough to. That would not keep us from having power. So we do notice that there's no substation down this end. So we've got to be able to deliver the power from up top down here to what will eventually be a very busy area down here with all kinds of the galleries, of course, lots and lots of people, and a lot of the services that we're going to supply, restaurants and shopping and all that good stuff. Now we have a substation. Now we have the line run, but we still don't have power. What gives? So what we've got to do is a little problem solving here to figure out why don't we have a full connection. And we check up here, and we see that we do have a path connection, but then we see the error message on the monorail that it doesn't have a substation. So even though it's right next to that power station, without a substation, it doesn't have any way to draw electricity. So once we set up that, now let's see where we are.
Always a pleasure to work with you.
So now we still have some damage up here, and we still are missing power down here. So what's going on? All that up there is damaged, so it's working. The power is working up there. So finally, after all that, I realized it's the simplest thing in the world. I didn't complete the path from that large power station over to the path. In other words, there didn't have a path connection, not because of all the fancy stuff with the monorail, but because it literally didn't have a path connection to the path right in front of it. So get all that done. Now we can send our ranger up and start doing repairs. And we've got ourselves our nice little beginning of a paddock, and now we can continue with our build. Now you can't go straight down. Now you notice I favored that one side to continue that out rather than trying to split it. That's because as we're looking at it, the left side is going to be for a ceratosaur, which takes more space, than the lower right side, which is going to be for a group of herbivores. So all this is planned out to have exactly the right set of dinosaurs in it to maximize the use of the space and to give us a very high rating. So decide to jump in with both feet and start out with a ceratosaur. And what we're going to do here now is name each of these gates. So that's I call each of the paddocks by the dinosaur that drives the requirement for space, forest, and grassland. So the ceratosaur drives that lower left one. The lower right one, we just named that gate the HUAY for Hyangosaurus gate, because the Hyangosaurus or the Chunkingosaurus that we're planning on putting there will drive that one. This is our Dilophosaur gate, because our Dilophosaurus will drive the requirements for the upper right, and this upper left is the Pachycephalosaurus gate, or the Pachy gate. And I name them just so it's easier for me to keep track of them. You do not have to name them, of course, if you're smart enough to keep track of them. But it does help me very much, because it makes it very clear to me which one I'm opening and which one I'm closing. So now the way that works now, by opening that lower left gate, the CER, the CER gate, then our Ceratosaurus and anything else we put in there can go in. And I'm kind of circling here, just showing that any of those gates, now the 4 paddocks are accessible from the Hammond Incubation Center using this technique. But that's pretty obvious, I would think. You got 4 gates, and they open to our 4 paddocks, coming off a central little walkway, almost like a runway, that our dinosaurs get to come through. And because we have the monorail system set up with no pathway, we'll get good transportation ratings because everybody's going to come in, get right on that monorail and come down and go down to the area where we want them, which is where our viewing galleries and our services and actually our hotels will be. I'd originally planned on doing this one with the hotels in a completely different area, which you could certainly do. And if you're interested in seeing that, let me know and I can show you how to do that. But I decided to go ahead and stick with this notion of kind of building it all here because I noticed there's just so much space over there. This is such a frugal build from a space usage point of view. Since it's only that 4x4 paddock that you're using for the whole thing, then you've got all that space that you can use to put in hotels and services. Now, with each one of these, when you get that main dinosaur that drives your desirability, then you got to really be careful to make sure that you get the right balance of grassland and trees, grassland and forest, I'm trying to say, so that your dinosaurs are happy. And you always get that one, and you know that if you keep him happy or her happy, then everybody else is going to be happy. So I just put a gate in up there at the top from the ranger station so the ranger has easy, quick access into the paddock, into our set of paddocks. The other beautiful thing about this setup is if you got espionage and all your gates were magically opened, if you could take care of that first gate right there next to the ranger station, the only carnage you would have would be perhaps some of your herbivores being eaten by your carnivores, which is it's sort of a mixed blessing. Your carnivores' ratings will all go up because of it. Of course, you have to rebuild re-incubate a bunch of stuff. But to me, that's better than having dinosaurs running wild in your park and eating all your guests. Now, some of you may enjoy that. That may be, in fact, the very reason you play the game. If so, then don't worry about it. Open your own gates and let it have at it. But I try to run the park as if I'm in a kind of, quote, as realistic as you can be in this kind of a thing, realistic way, and try to actually have a very safe, very efficient park that makes really good money, uses the space well, and keeps everybody extremely happy. Now their fencing, that's all for show because they don't have a gate system in this game where gates can be used on people walking areas. In other words, the gates are only for the dinosaurs and the rangers. You can't put a gate like you can build that like a little fort with gates in it that people could walk in and out of. So basically, I'm just very carefully taking all that fencing down because it's just really not necessary. It's just in the way. And I want to clean it up because, I've got research up there because you got to get that research done quickly for your vaccines so that you don't have any illnesses of your animals that you can't control, you can't cure. So here comes our first dinosaur, Ceratosaur. Now, what we're going to do here is get our Fossil Center and Expedition Center going so that we can start making money off of expeditions. And then we're going to start loading dinosaurs. So I'm going to move ahead a little bit. The game, I will say this, one thing about the game, it's a little slow. It can drag a little bit. I mean, there are times when you're just so busy, right after a storm or when there's been some kind of mess up with the fence or dinosaurs lost happiness that you didn't see coming or whatever. But most of the time the game is terribly slow. You can see we're actually losing money, but now that we start getting dinosaurs out, we'll start making money and doing quite well. So I'm going to move ahead just a little bit here. But I will, before I do that, I want to say, you just make sure that Ceratosaur is happy in his environment, that he likes the combination of trees and grassland. And this particular design, the 4x4 done like this, he will like the overall space. So you've got enough room. If you tweak it, you can go ahead and put in your trees and grassland as needed. Well, trees, take them in, put them out to make that balance correct. So you can see we're starting to get close to a profit already. So let's move ahead a little bit because this can be really slow. Okay, we've moved ahead a little bit. We've created 4 inexpensive, relatively inexpensive dinosaurs in our main herbivore paddock, and we're just at that point where we're starting to make a small amount of money. But the one thing I'm noticing is that we're getting a visibility rating of about 75%, and that's not right. I mean, I know that those trees are there, and occasionally one will hide, but basically we should be 90% visibility on our trees or on our dinosaurs, because I mean, look at the way we've got the viewing gallery set up. We've already seen they completely cover the entire area, so we have everything in our sight, and everything right there in a nice compact area where we can put our services. So we'll come back to that in a minute. We'll kind of solve that riddle. But you can see I'm just starting to build. I've got a definite set of 12 I want to put down there in that lower right. There's going to be a total of 6 dinosaurs up in the upper right. There's going to be 10 dinosaurs in the upper left and 8 dinosaurs in the lower left. So what is that? That's 12 and 8's 20, 30, 36 dinosaurs. And they will get us to a rating of nearly 3,000 with those 36, just to give you a look ahead if done correctly. So, and that's what we're trying to do here, is do it correctly. So at this point, I think it might be a good idea to start giving some services, because it will boost our profit and start satisfying these folks. So we're going to put in fast food and a gift shop. Now, the most efficient or the biggest satisfiers are really the restaurant and the clothing. But I have found that if you put restaurants and clothing when you're small, you don't get them filled up. Whereas you get the fast food and the gift shop filled up pretty quickly. Then after they're filled up, then you can start putting in the clothing and restaurants. And I really try to use all of them. I use the fast food, gift shop, clothing, restaurant, occasionally an arcade or something for the fun, although the fun is usually pretty pegged by the dinosaurs themselves. You need just a little boost in the fun, but you definitely need the food, drink, and the shopping. So we're going to put in food, and we're going to put in a gift shop down here. I'd put them in an odd corner because the ground is not quite level, and I'm terrible at the landscaping, the terraforming. Just drives me nuts. Bumped it up to 3 here. Honestly, with this approach, good practice would be go ahead and bump it up to 5. We're going to grow so fast, and our income's going up so fast, and the people are going to come in here so fast that you might as well just go ahead and put it up to 5 right off the bat. As you can see there, we're getting 97% visibility on our dinosaur. That's a little better. And I didn't mean to, but I skipped over it. It actually turned out that when I tranquilized all those stegosaurs, I actually forgot one. I had one left out there that was lying out in the field tranquilized, and we kept getting 75% visibility. I finally said, wait a minute, 75, what's wrong here? And went over and found that one, took it off and sold it, and then we went right up to the 97% visibility. So mystery solved. All right, so let's move quickly forward a little bit to the point where we start putting in our fossil center and our expedition center. And one critique of this particular start, I should have done this right off the bat. When I had the $9.5 million, I absolutely should have not just put in the research center to get that research done, but I also should have put in the fossil center and the expedition center, because the fossil center turns out was loaded up with fossils from the time we spent on our last island right before this, quite probably on Pena, not necessarily, but probably on Pena, and and maybe more to the point, even if it didn't have any fossils in it, you can make a ton of money, particularly in a later game, when you're getting to your third or fourth island. Because if you've been playing them and developing your islands and you've done your research, you can have 3 dig teams going out, and those dig teams you can have upgrades on your fossil center so that they dig faster and bring back more, have bigger dig yield, and then you can just start just printing money basically off of these expeditions. So all these expeditions just keep piling up and making you money. And here you'll notice I backed out of a contract so I could get another one. Don't be afraid to do that, because you'll get better ones. Some of those contracts are just not appropriate, and they're going to take you forever to fulfill if you ever do. It's better to, if you've taken one and you realize, oh, I can't do this, get rid of it and get a new one, because sometimes they'll give you layups, ones like no power outages for a certain amount of time. So here you can see, this is when I first opened this up. Could have had this way back in the beginning and sold all this stuff, because those are fossils for a Spinosaurus where I've already developed them. I mean, everything is developed at this point, and this is all money, and it's going to end up being a lot of money, and we can use that money to put dinosaurs in our park. And now that we have this available to us, we can start sending out, well, once we get in the expedition center, we can start sending out expeditions and start really making the money. So again, should have done this first. This should have been the first thing I did when I had that money after selling off the Spinosaurus and the Stegosaurus. And by the way, just another quick aside, for those of you who are just ill because I sold those off, and rather than building my park with them, the Steggies are very contrary. You have to have 5 of them. And so to put them with something, they didn't really fit into this generic build I wanted to show you. So it would have taken a slightly different arrangement of these paddocks to make the Spinosaur takes much more room. It takes, well, not much more, but it definitely takes more space. The Stegosaur takes less, but you can't put as many things in with it. I thought at the end of the day I was better off without them, particularly to show you this generic build. But be that as it may, we'll just start selling this stuff that's coming back. And we'll just keep going out and doing expeditions. Now we've got all these places we can go, and all these places we can send out expeditions, and we're just going to keep going. Now a lot of those are checked off, means we've already tapped them out. Because the other thing I will say is, as I played through this on each island, I played each island long enough to have everything I could get out of that island, meaning I took every division up to enough reputation in order to get all the bonuses and that I could get from that particular division. So I did that for all 3 of the divisions and all the island bonuses, and got them all to 5-star. So we're dealing right here with 4 4-star islands that have been fully developed and fully nurtured, if you will, so that we have all the benefits available to us. And that's another reason why it's easy to do this one, because we're coming in here not off of a bunch of 3-star islands, but coming in off a bunch of 5-star islands with a lot of research already done. But at any rate, back to what we're talking about here, which the main thing is, how do we build this out? So now we can start using the money from the expeditions to keep sending out more expeditions, and keep selling the fossils we don't need to incubate, keep incubating to grow more stock, which really isn't part of what we're doing here, but could be used for the future, and just keep pumping out these dinosaurs. So I'm going to speed it up again, because now I'm just filling up these paddocks, and I'll share with you the plan for what goes in each of the paddocks and how that works in a moment. But let's just fast forward a bit and move on out here to where we're starting to get a pretty mature build. So at this point, we're kind of hitting that point where it's time to start putting in more and more services, including hotels, because we've got pretty good fulfillment except for capacity, which is way below. And again, we're growing very, very quickly. And this is the whole park right here. I mean, you're looking at it, except for that research area up there at the entrance. This is the park. And decided here, since we're going to have hotels, and this, by the way, is a departure. I originally intended to build the hotels in a completely different section and have a transport going off to them and have a section for hotels, and it would have a bunch of services with it in order to keep people happy there, and then they would come over here to look at the dinosaurs and keep this area even smaller. But when I realized that I had so much space around this is such a compact build, I decided to go ahead and see how it would work to go ahead and put the hotels right out here and just have really the whole park right here in this one area. And so now we're starting to set up hotels, and having done that, now the transportation, we're getting a little less than, we're not in those 90s anymore, because people are having to walk from down here to that lower transport all the way up to the hotel. So I wanted to go ahead and put in a second monorail, and that way keep that transportation rating really high by doing so. So now we've got an extra monorail in there, and we still have the looping so that you're going right over the dinosaurs and you get that thrilling view as you're riding along. You can see here we're getting to that point where we're starting to get decent variety. We're getting good welfare. Pardon me. We're continuing to send out our expeditions and getting lots of stuff to sell. Basically, our research is going so well that we're maxing out a lot of these species that we're getting stuff back on. And by the way, I tend to just keep going to the same site until I've literally tapped it out. So I just keep going back to these same 3 sites, Australia, China, and South America, and until I just keep tapping it out. So now you can see the Carnotosaurus, we've gone from 0 to having that completely done. And here you notice, yes, I do use a spreadsheet to plan out my pins. It's the one that Smith, I think it's Smith RPS 86, I think is his or her name. Did a great job. One more time, I want to commend him or her for the great work they did. They deserve full credit for it. I have expanded it and used it for my own purposes, but just a great way to plan out your paddocks. And do you have to do a spreadsheet to do them? Of course not. Of course not. You can do it completely by feel. You can experiment and build one and see how many animals you can put in and whatever, but having that spreadsheet just makes it a no guess. I know exactly how many and what species I want to put in each of these paddocks and exactly what they need to look like. And at the end of this, I'll share with you, kind of pull up that spreadsheet and share with you exactly what these paddocks look like. You can see we're getting up to pretty decent money now. We're starting to get a mediocre dinosaur rating, but we still have a variety penalty because we don't have enough variety set up yet, but we will. It'll get better and better and better, and we'll eventually end up with 21 different species of dinosaurs, and we can max out at 36 dinosaurs in this arrangement. Mostly herbivores, which I think is actually a good thing. It makes them very easy to manage. We've had several big storms hit and have had almost 0 incidents as a result of that. So let's move ahead a little further. And again, now we're starting to look at all this yield that's coming back. We've got 3 teams going out. We've got a dig speed and 2 dig yield upgrades on our expedition center, and we're getting all this stuff back that we can either extract or sell. So our development of new species is going very quickly, and our money is just racking up as we continue to sell these off. And we're actually making more money on these expeditions than we're making on the park right now. Look at that. That was just a ton of money. So we're just going to keep going. There we go. We're going to keep going to these same 3 sites. And right there you see that our South America side is now tapped out, so we're going to move up to Southwest United States and do some digging up there. So now I'm going to modify the Packy and get ready, because I want to put the Packy out first in that upper left paddock, because she is the dinosaur that's going to determine whether everybody's happy there. She's the fussiest about the forest and the grassland and the overall size of the paddock. So that's why I call it the Packy paddock. And it's worth noting, just as I watch through that all these dinosaurs, I've tried to take them up about as modified as they can get. I don't put vanilla dinosaurs out there because the ratings are just too low. So we're putting out dinosaurs that are upgraded as high as our research will let us go, pretty much. They're not completely maxed out, because I do want to keep some viability. I don't want to be spinning the dice when I try to incubate. And by the way, the Hammond Center has 3 Success 2.0s. At this point in the research, we don't have the 3.0 success rate yet. But you can see we're still needing hotels. We're just having okay capacity. So we're going to start putting in another hotel. And this whole thing with the hotels and the services, I try to build modules where all this is tight together, so that these the folks who are at the viewing galleries and the hotels and whatever can get straight to any service, food, shopping, fun, whatever it is they're looking for. That it's right there near them. So I'm trying to build a very compact area here where everything is super convenient for the guests. And just doing some changes here, getting that substation out of the way, so that we can put a hotel back to that lower one there. And so moving that substation up a little bit further up, so that I can clear out that space down below it for another hotel. And this goes on and on. We'll keep building hotels, keep building more services, keep maxing out the restaurants and the fast food and the clothes shops and the gift shops and the arcades and what have you, to keep this going. And we're just keep the population, our number of guests just keeps growing so fast that we just have to keep pumping these services in there to stay up with it. And that's a great thing. I mean, that's a good thing. If you're a businessman, that's exactly what you're after, a thriving business, and that's what we have here, because our guests are coming in kind of in droves now, which is good. So let's go ahead. I think you see the idea. You've got our 4x4 paddock. You've got the services and the hotel and everything right in there around it, using up very little space. That was a particularly nice piece of land right in there on Sorna to do this. But had it been tighter, that would have been fine. We would have just moved all of our hotels to a different area, given them some services, and everything would have been cool. We would have gotten our 5-star rating that way. So let's just move ahead to the end and see how this thing turns out, and then I want to give you the recap.
This place, these islands, they have a way of making you question things. But there's no question you are achieving new levels of competence.
So here you can see we've hit our 5 stars. We've got all our satisfactions up. The lowest one was 93%. Most of them were 99%. So we have really done a good job of building up Isla Sorna to a 5-star park. And we haven't even done our missions yet. We're really very early in the game. We've done a pretty good job of satisfying the requests of the sponsors, and we're still early in the game, and we've got a long way to go to get our missions and finish developing out our park. All right, so as promised, here's the plan for those paddocks that I used. And this is from the spreadsheet created by Smith SP86. So all credit to Smith SP86 for doing a great job on this. Went out and actually got all that detailed data. This is just a published version I created of the plan that I put together using Smith SP86's spreadsheet. but the spreadsheet itself has much more stuff in it, and including all the details about the dinosaurs and all that. But this cool tool called a pin planner, and this is one copy of it that I use to set up the pins used in this video. And so you can take this if you're interested. You may not care at all, but if you're interested, you can see exactly how many of each dinosaur I put in each of the ones. And I will tell you, I put the social minimum. In other words, how many does this particular dinosaur have to have in order to be okay socially? The Hyangosaur was 1, Chungking with 2, etc., etc. That's how many I put in all the pins, with the exception of this one, the Ceratosaur pin, which had the Ceratosaur and the Velociraptor in it. I actually put the max they could do there because they had extra room. They couldn't put any other species in there with them. They would eat them. And, you know, the big herbivores that are attack proof are too big, take up too much space, so they couldn't fit in this area. So these are the only 2 species you could put in. So I went ahead and bumped this up to 2 Ceratosaur. So this rating over here is the double. It's 280-ish raptors or Ceratosaurs made that number. 268s actually. And then 6 Velociraptors at 125 apiece made this 750. So, and these ratings, obviously, depending upon how you build your dinosaurs, what genome modification you make, you'll get slightly different ratings. But these are the ratings that I used on my dinosaurs, and this is how they came out. And you end up with a grand total rating of 2,894 when you build this out completely. And that will get you a 5-star rating on any island in the game. So, so if you're interested in it, there it is. You're welcome to it. I'll put a link to this, straight to this plan in the description of the video, and you can use it as you see fit. Okay, let's do a quick wrap-up of what we've just done. We have built out a 5-star Isla Sorna with a 5-star dinosaur rating, great facility rating, all of our satisfactions in the 90s. Oh, there's one in 85. Ooh, there's an 85. That's got to be fixed. Can't accept that. 85 on fun. So the way we do that is we look at our management views and we see where are they missing fun. And they need right in here. So we need an arcade. We have a full arcade down here. So let's see. We could put another arcade in, but I'd prefer to do something different. Just arcade is the best one for fun. It's a 4-star fun. But let's see what gives. Oh, here, a toy shop. A lovely little toy shop would just be great. Let's give these people
By completing that contract, you've made our power supply more reliable and secure.
And notice this one large power station has provided all the power we needed for this entire build. So we're going to see what happens when we get this fun. Well, now it's at now it's at 99. I should have just waited. Now it's at 99%. These things do vary based on what kind of the ebb and flow of the game, but now they're all at 99. Great. But we'll go ahead and finish off this toy shop, and we're going to max it out. Oh, this clothes shop right here needs to be built up too. It's not staffed properly. Oh, there we go. Much better. Wonder if I did this one. No, this one's okay. This is, by the way, this is a helpful hint. When you look in these management views, if I pick any one of these, fun, whatever, as I scroll over the different buildings, I can see how many people are in them and how many staff I have, which is very useful. You want to make sure as you get advanced in this that you've got it staffed out. That clothes shop isn't maxing out because it doesn't need to. And this toy shop we just built actually has 0 customers. That figures, because now we were at 99. Now they're getting a few. Okay, there we go. Let's see how we're doing now. There we go. Transportation's 89. Again, it kind of fluctuates. And this one, by the way, is not, like I said, I changed this whole idea with the hotels. My more typical one would have these hotels off on their own somewhere, maybe over here or wherever, and with their own transportation and their own set of services, so that transportation could stay higher rating. And we got a storm coming in, of course, as we... Here, let's just go out on a storm. What better way to go out?
With everyone in entertainment.
But here's what we did. Yes, thank you, Isaac. Okay, so as the storm ravishes our buildings, here's what we did. We built a 4x4, and by 4x4 I mean just stretch it out as far as you can go 4 times. 4x4 overall containment center. Put the Hammond Creation Lab right here in the middle top. We put our Ranger and ACU nearby. Doesn't have to be right there, wherever they fit. Put a power station near the Ranger so that we had that going on. One large station did everything we needed, and then we divided it into 4 paddocks very carefully. We went halfway plus 3 little sections up to get our 2 larger ones. We made this side a little bit bigger, so by putting this in like so, and then we started filling these paddocks up per the plan that we just went over, and it didn't take us too awful long to get to a 5-star rating. You see, we're not 5-star anymore because we've got some damage to fix. So
no
we can,
problem.
as we go out, I'll queue up and notice I've only had 1 Ranger who supported my entire park, and it's had 0 issues keeping up. Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Made myself a liar. I did add a second one during one of the storms to help get some stuff done. And we got by easy on that storm. That wasn't much of a storm by Isla Sorna standards. I hope you found this useful, and I hope you saw 1 or 2 things in here that can help you become a better player. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it adds to your enjoyment of the game, and I hope you'll join us for our next Jurassic World Evolution video. Thank you.